Before we get started, a huge thanks to our sponsor, Mitsubishi Electric. Mitsubishi provides all your heating, cooling, and filtration needs in one system. Today's low-load homes require right-sized equipment that most systems, especially gas-fired, cannot meet. Mitsubishi has low-load, high-efficient heat pumps that dehumidify and cool in the summer and work in reverse to heat in the winter. Going ductless reduces costs and make it even easier to meet many of the Energy Star requirements. Ductless mini splits can now be hidden in many different ways to meet your client's needs, and ducted systems can now be used as well. Ducted systems are also hidden behind the walls to ensure a beautiful space and can be retrofitted right in place of a conventional furnace in an existing single-family or multi-family project. Hyperheat ensures an efficient heat delivery down to -13 degrees, and backup strip heaters kick in during the rare but coldest of cold days. Just launched today, the first set of hyperheating inverter products to be released in 2020. The introduction of these new outdoor units creates an additional 25 systems capable of hyperheating performance when it's really cold out. So check out that. We'll be starting more information there. And the way it works is each room of a house can be customized, and so can multifamily buildings and commercial buildings with variable refrigerant heating systems with energy recovery built right in. You can heat on one side, cool on the other, just as needed. Go to MitsubishiComfort.com to learn more. And thanks to our second tier sponsors, Rheem, featuring the Rheem Prestige, an energy efficient, quiet, and all-electric hybrid heat pump water heater. The future of water heating is finally here. 50, 65, or 80 gallons, all the way up to 3.7 uniform energy factor. In other words, almost over 300% efficiency for these units. With different ducting and ductless systems, depending on your strategies and climate zones, as well as leak detection. Learn more at rheem.com/hybrid savings.
So just real quick, the custom resources that are available to you, obviously, as I mentioned, technical assistance throughout the program. We really can help with setting up meetings, kind of reviewing any kind of documents or energy efficiency technologies that you're thinking about implementing. We also will help with kind of reviewing the monitoring data during the performance phase, as well as through the measurement phase of the project. So really, we are there as a resource. I mentioned earlier that the companion program, we are choosing to kind of be more hands-off, but not to kind of sacrifice like a customer's overall experience. So if you need us, we are there, but we do want a lot of the decisions to come from the owner and the design team in terms of their participation in the program. So some program resources, obviously a great technical assistance team. We have also published a Consumer's Energy ZNE Deliverable Guidebook. This is a detailed guidebook on what is needed to meet each of the deliverables throughout the phases. It also provides a lot of examples in terms of what kind of resources are available, as well as kind of instructions in terms of like how to go about achieving each of the deliverables to really set your project up for success. Some other ZNE resources that we will refer to is obviously New Buildings Institute, nationwide kind of organization that's really leading in the ZNE efforts, both commercial and residential space, as well as USGBC, local chapters, and the 2030 District website too. So that was a lot of information, and I guess I'll hand it back over to you, Brett. I would love to take any questions or just general comments that you all have. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Celia. And we do have a couple questions coming in here, and I've got a few things I want to go over with over here real quick before we get to those questions. Can you see my screen there? Okay, perfect. So yeah, real quick, to get your CEUs, everybody please take that survey that pops up at the end. If you're watching this on demand in the future, just take that 80%, get an 80% passing rate on your quiz. To find the quiz, go down to the YouTube link on our website, the logo underneath the video, and then click Show More on the left there underneath some text. and then below you will see a direct link to access the quiz and submit that. And then also just a huge thanks to all of our top tier sponsors, Panasonic Ventilation, T-Stud, Mitsubishi Electric, and now Ream. Thanks to them and all of our members, board of directors, and volunteers who allow us to do what we do. So one of the questions that came in here, and I think I assume you probably covered it, but just to confirm, the verification of that EUI goal is only a one-time snapshot, and so I would assume, going a little bit further into this question, they might be concerned that they would, not get some, resources or rebates if the following year they didn't make it.
Am I off mute? Oh.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh God, I was like, I didn't want to start talking about. Yeah, I mean, just really for the purpose of like program design, right? We can't keep incentivizing every year thereafter, the building's occupied. So yeah, it is just kind of a snapshot into, say, that first year of performance, but we hope that the project does stay kind of committed to reaching kind of their energy goals. And it's really the idea that, like, if you put into practice kind of, if following this program and the deliverables, and especially through that measurement and verification phase and the commissioning efforts that we require, if you put into practice, you're really setting yourself up for success on the operation side. So yeah, that's basic kind of our stance on that. But good question.
And just to follow up, the percent savings, such as 30% for existing and 40 for new, based on the building site, for total energy use, correct?
Yes. Sorry. That it's regulated energy use, right? So that excludes kind of receptacle and process load.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was I think that was on the slides, but I probably brushed over it. Yeah, that's regulated energy use. So basically anything that's regulated by IECC and the ASHRAE 90.1 standard, which excludes obviously receptacle and process load.
So I really like how you require that preliminary energy model going into the charrette. So many times you show up to these design meetings, charrettes, without the model in hand, and we're just sitting there, really guessing and just kind of a lot of times going with our gut feeling what's going to save energy. But when we actually show up with that model done, it really helps guide and facilitate that conversation. And that really goes hand in hand with a lot of lead charrettes we do. And so I wanted to kind of piggyback off into that and to say, how does this coordinate with lead charrettes? Do you all have any incentives for folks following lead certification? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, another good question. Yeah, we don't have an actual incentive right now for the companion in the companion program for any kind of third-party certification. We've definitely discussed this, so I'm not going to say that we won't in the future. However, there's a lot of these processes and these deliverables that are aligned with, LEED's requirements. For example, as you mentioned, LEED requires, for the integrated design point, right? It requires a design charrette. So there's nothing to stop a customer and their design team from kind of killing two birds with one stone. Terrible analogy, but in terms of like kind of checking off both the ZNE program requirements as well as LEED, you could have kind of the same design charrette. So we don't want to make this an extra burden for projects, especially ones that are going through kind of the LEED certification process as well. We want to make sure that the efforts are aligned and that they kind of help each other. Yeah.
And on that note, a lot of projects following LEED are really going through this in-depth modeling design charrette process, or even thinking about the fact that the economy is good right now, so teams are moving rapidly at 1,000 miles an hour. So one question I have is, let's say whether they're doing lead or they've just hired the right consultants and they've followed all the intentions, but a lot of times teams are just moving so fast that before they even realized they were on the track to get into your program, they've missed one or two of the milestones, at least as far as reaching out to you. They've actually done them though. Is there any
Yeah.
way to see if they've been able to verify or prove that they've achieved those milestones in the way you would like them to, but maybe they didn't contact you till later because, you know, a lot of times it's just really tough to get the owner's attention these days
Yeah.
because they're so focused.
Yeah. Our kind of formal stance on that is, we need to be involved in achieving those deliverables in some way. However, if we will address this kind of on a project by project basis, um, especially with kind of making this companion program more streamlined. We do hope that a lot of these processes have just been adopted by the team themselves. However, we still need to kind of show some kind of, I guess, program influence in a way in order for that specific incentive to be paid out. So again, it's kind of a gray area because we obviously want to and reward the customer and the team for kind of going through those procedures or the process already without our help, but we also can't financially kind of incentivize if you're not involved in the program. The other option, though, that is always available to our customers, and that is something that we will make sure you have all the information you need, as well as the contacts at Consumers Energy, is rebates, right? And that we will make sure that if, say, there are certain things that you don't qualify or you can't meet for our ZNE Pilot Program, that you will be set up to at least be part of our specialty kind of CNI program or prescriptive program to achieve rebates. So we always kind of want to help and support the customer in that way.
So you mentioned all electric, and
Yep.
certainly we are seeing a transition to that. It's becoming easier, as you saw. Hyper cold climate technology just more of it came out today,
Yeah.
and so it's happening. But what about those who, you know, still aren't sure? I mean, a lot of times we still see some gas-fired backup energy recovery ventilators, or more importantly, we still see gas generators because of you know, the cost of batteries. So,
Mhm.
you know, what if teams are, you know, just using those and have everything else fully electric?
It really comes down to the actual usage of it. If it is indeed a backup uh, heat source, then we will consider. Again, it's a kind of project by project basis. We realize that all electric is very aggressive in terms of a lot of, say, existing building stock, but we want to kind of support, Consumers Energy as a whole wants to really move towards decarbonization, and this program is in line with that. So this requirement, all electric, yes, we understand that there could be gas usage on site. We really treat it as kind of a case by case basis in terms of what is that percentage. Is that generator actually operating, or is it backup? Is the supplemental boiler actually going to be on, or what percentage of the year is it going to be running? And like you showed before, yes, we're seeing kind of in this new age these technology emerging that can kind of perform in really cold climates such as Michigan, and that's really great to see. And so our program also wants to kind of support any kind of emerging technology in that way, for our customers.
So, you know, you had mentioned you've adopted multifamily only as long as there's a commercial meter. Um,
Yeah.
but a majority of the energy modeling programs are actually more designed for buildings that are either more commercial or,
Mhm.
you know, higher than 3 stories. So,
Mhm.
is there any other opportunity for these low-rise buildings that I believe can go into your program now to use
Mhm.
alternative programs that have been valid, such as, and I'm just using some examples, but like the HERS
Mhm.
index rating or WUFI from the
Mhm.
Passive House Institute?
Yeah, that's something I think we now have to really address now that we've opened it up to multifamily projects, because as you say, those kind of projects, typically your high-rise residential project is still built kind of to a commercial code, right? And therefore it you can use, an energy modeling software to model kind of its thermal performance quite effectively. But for these mid-rise, lower-rise residential building types, um, eh, although I know some software programs that could still use, you could still model these building types in, we'd have to kind of look at what you're kind of alternatively looking to use to really model that building. Our stance is really that if it can perform kind of 8760 data and also be able to um, look at varying weather data as well as different schedule types, then we'll accept it into the program. Um, I don't know if that really answered your question, but it's something that I think we need to really kind of look further into now that we're accepting multifamily projects.
Yeah, no, great. I appreciate that. And Ben, I know I saw you wanted to jump in on that too.
Yeah, hey, so I just wanted to clarify, earlier in the presentation, we said that we would only onboard 2 customers per project. Once this becomes a specialty program, we won't be limited to that anymore. So if one customer has 10 projects, we could do that as well. So I wanted to clarify that is our current requirement, but once we become a specialty, it'll be opened up for more projects. And the other thing I wanted to clarify as well is although we won't pay for the full third-party verification for like a LEED Zero certification or International Living Future Zero Energy certification, we will cover the registration costs to get certified for the application costs. So those are my 2 clarifications I wanted to get out there.
Just more about kind of, Brett, I think you'll agree with me on the multifamily kind of sector. They're also not there's not really an energy code that addresses multifamily as of yet, right? And we have this kind of multifamily buildings that are 4 stories or higher are considered high rise and regulated by this commercial code, whereas anything lower than 3 stories is just residential. So any buildings that really like fall in between, and even 3-story residential buildings, could be classified under this. We don't really have a code that kind of governs them. And so I think as this changes, because I know there's a lot of movement in this area, I know that New Buildings Institute is really conducting a multifamily code initiative. We want this program to also evolve and grow with it. So if there does, if there is a multifamily code that is developed, we hope that this program will be aligned with it for our multifamily projects as well. Because we only kind of want to develop with the industry in that arena, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
So one question that came in on the incentive, obviously, half of it comes after the commissioning and the modeling being aligned. But of course, the other half comes on actually achieving the results. So I think where the person might be going with this question, and I'll add to it a little bit, but one is very interesting. They were thinking, okay, what if you don't get the full reduction, but you get some of it?
Mm-hmm.
Is the incentive then reduced or not awarded at all? And then I'll add to that and ask, okay, what if you fail? Can you try again through another performance period?
Oh, I like that question. I think so. Firstly, the first portion that we offer a verification percentage within, I think Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 10% target, and then there's an additional incentive if we're within 5% of that projected target. So that's once after the building consumption has been verified for those 12 months. we would compare that annual energy use intensity to what your kind of projected EUI had been through the program. And that's how the verification incentive would be paid. So you still have, that window of kind of that range is, I think, that's kind of where we need to cap it in terms of like you achieving your target. We've got to put a number somewhere, and that 10% was something that we kind of agreed on would be like the best approach for that verification incentive. In terms of whether you can try again, I don't know if they mean another full 12 months, because this kind of is in line with your question before. Although we would love to keep incentivizing projects multiple years down the road, we do have to kind of be aware that this is an incentive program set up and we can't keep kind of funding projects in that fashion. However, if the performance period, say, is longer than 3 months, we can work with you on that in terms of like where you want to start your 12 months of measurement. And then if that pushes your project out, we are willing to kind of work within, certain program requirements with the project team on that.
I would make my performance period either in the fall or summer because there's going to be less to deal with.
Yeah.
I think I guess there's one final question here, and for folks who are not in consumers energy territory, how can they get their utilities involved?
Oh man. I guess awareness. If you're participating in this other utilities rebate program in some way, making them aware of Consumers Energy's Zero Net Energy program would probably be the first step. We are hoping that we, can influence other utilities to run programs like this. We are one of 2 Zero Net Energy programs, only 2 in the country. And so we do hope that picks up, because I think these types of programs are kind of essential to, not only kind of reaching these greenhouse gas emission reduction goals that are set, many states have them now, but also, decarbonization efforts that a lot of kind of local governments are really kind of taking a stand on and showing initiative there. So yeah, I think just creating kind of awareness of this program and how beneficial it could be for the design community would be like the first step.
Great. Well, that brings us to the end of our time. Celia and Ben, I really appreciate you taking time to do this. And thanks again to Consumers Energy. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out all of our courses available online that you can watch anytime and anywhere to pick up your CEUs. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get weekly updates and stay up to date on green building science courses, webinars, and home tours. Thanks again.